By the summer of 1916, the Western Front had collapsed into a graveyard of mud and battle. The Battle of the Somme was grinding toward its third catastrophic month, and British commanders were desperate for anything that could break the deadlock. Hidden behind barbed fences in a small compound in Lincolnshire, an experimental unit worked day and night on something unprecedented. The Mark I, the world's first operational tank. Among the men chosen to crew these mechanical beasts was Corporal Arthur Hensley, a former factory fitter from Manchester, quiet, observant, and stubborn enough to tame a machine that threatened to kill its own crew before it ever reached the enemy. When Arthur first stepped inside a Mark I, he expected steel and ordered. Instead, he found hell contained within iron walls, temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. Choking exhaust, engines so loud the men communicated only by kicks to the shoulder. But he stayed. Not because he loved the machine, but because he understood it. They called us tank men, but truth is, we were pioneers. Or guinea pigs. But if this thing worked, maybe we'd end the slaughter. Arthur's tank, a male Mark I armed with two 6-pounder naval guns, was named Daphne. Crews weren't officially encouraged to name them, but the men did anyway. Somehow, it made the danger feel more manageable. Training was brutal, not from gunfire, but from the machine itself. The gearbox kicked like a mule, hot metal scalded bearskin, oil fumes made men faint. One misstep inside could mean a broken arm, or worse. Still. These were the first tank whisperers, men who learned through instinct, bruises and burns how to coax the Mark I into moving, steering and firing. Then came the orders they had both hoped for and feared. The tanks would debut at Flers-Courcelette before dawn on September 15, 1916. Arthur and his 5-man crew climbed into Daphne. They closed the steel hatch, shutting out the wind, the sky, and any sense of safety. Inside, they lit the engine. The roar made the floor vibrate. Hot air filled the tank like a furnace. The men knew they could die inside before ever reaching the German line. Once you sealed that hatch, you weren't a man anymore. You were part of the machine. If it failed, you failed with it. At 6:20 a.m., the tanks advanced. Soldiers on foot stopped and stared, unable to believe what they were seeing. Iron monsters rolling forward, crushing trenches, barbed wire, and earth beneath them. Arthur's Daphne lumbered across no man's land, shrugging off machine gun fire that sparked harmlessly against her armor. But the Mark I was still an experiment. Half the tanks broke down before they even reached the front. A few caught fire, others sank deep into mud. Arthur's tank pushed on. Ahead, a German strongpoint called the Ale Alley Redoubt hammered the British advance with relentless gunfire. Arthur's commander slammed a boot into the driver's shoulder, a signal to steer left. They lined up on the enemy position. Inside the dark interior, the gunner loaded a 6-pounder shell. Sweat dripped from his chin. The barrel fired, the tank shook. The German nest collapsed. The defenders scattered, stunned by a weapon they had never imagined. For the first time in the war, British infantry advanced without being cut to pieces. Some soldiers reached out to touch the tank as it passed, as if reassuring themselves that it was real. But triumph didn't last. Daphne soon overheated. Flames licked the engine. Arthur and his men bailed out, coughing, eyes burning. They continued fighting on foot, the great machine behind them smoldering in the mud. Still, the tank had done its job. In total, only a handful of the 49 deployed tanks reached their objectives, but their psychological impact was enormous. German troops were shaken. British commanders realized they were holding the seed of something transformative. The Mark I had flaws, many flaws, but it had proven one thing: the age of mechanized warfare had begun. After the battle, Arthur was treated for burns and lung damage. The scars stayed with him, but so did something else: the belief that he had helped turn the tide of history. Arthur Hensley would never command another tank, but generations of crews would follow the path he and his men carved in steel and fire. Today, when modern armored regiments roll across battlefields in machines of unimaginable power, they echo the bravery of the first crewmen, men who stepped willingly into metal coffins so that the world might break free from the trenches. They were the first tank whisperers, and their story is the birth of modern armor. If you want more untold moments like this, hit subscribe and turn on alerts. History's hidden chapters are waiting.